we bring our automatic or hypnotic tension into some area of the brain and block, perhaps, the nerve reflex in the arm, or cause it to deaden, or lose sense of fear. Or we may block a large area, as in the case of the use of hypnosis in obstetrics. But here is the thing that makes it all very peculiar. We can block the last joint of one finger. We can leave the other joints wide awake, the whole hand wide awake, and the whole arm wide awake. To achieve this peculiar result, and there are many ways in which we can prove it, it will probably be necessary for us to reform some of our notions as to the mechanics of the hypnotic process. In optics, for example, we can block a form, a pattern, or a color. We can take a large room with 100 persons in it, and under hypnotic suggestion, we can block the subject's ability to see one of those persons, but continue to see the other 99. The one person that he cannot see can wander all about the room, standing in front of the other 99, one at a time and in any accidental order. The subject will continue to see the person behind the one he cannot see, but will not be able to see the person that is blocked out. The room is not blocked. The power to see is not blocked. The power to remember fully and completely every occurrence in the room is not blocked. There is no damage to memory, consciousness, awareness, or general vision. There is simply one person, distinguished as a person, who simply remains invisible. The same consideration comes in the problem of taste reflexes. We can cause an individual to enjoy food with all of its most delicate flavors and can completely block out the taste of onions. We can dose everything the individual is eating with onions. And we may have previously learned that onion is one thing he cannot eat or which distresses him profoundly. Yet he will eat and enjoy all flavors and swear there was no onion in the food. We can hand in the onion, and by blocking his visible sense of the onion and his taste sense, we can let him eat the onion, and he will be convinced that it is an orange, a pear, or a cucumber. Yet no other part of his mentality is interfered with.
Esther Brooks was one of the nation's most authoritative sources in the hypnotic field. The psychologist told officials in Washington that a mere 200 well-trained hypnotists could develop an army of mind-controlled sixth columnists in wartime United States. He laid out a scenario of an enemy doctor placing thousands of patients under hypnotic mind control and eventually programming key military officers to follow his assignment. Through such maneuvers, he said, the entire United States Army could be taken over. Large numbers of saboteurs could also be created using hypnotism through the work of a doctor practicing in a neighborhood on foreign-born nationals with close cultural ties with an enemy power. Dr. Esther Brooks actually conducted experiments on United States soldiers to prove his point. Soldiers of low rank and little formal education were placed under hypnotism and their memories tested. Surprisingly, hypnotists were able to control the subject's ability to retain complicated verbal information. J.G. Watkins followed in Estabrook's steps and induced soldiers of lower rank to commit acts which conflicted not only with their moral code, but with the military code which they had come to accept through their basic training. One of the experiments involved placing a normal, stable Army private in a deep trance. Watkins was trying to see if he could get the private to attack a superior officer, a cardinal sin in the military. While the private was in a deep trance, Watkins told him that the officer sitting across from him was an enemy soldier who was going to attempt to kill him. In the private's mind, it was a kill or be killed situation. The private did not see his own officer sitting there. He saw an enemy soldier. The private immediately jumped up and grabbed the officer by the throat. The experiment was repeated several times, and in one case the man who was hypnotized and the man who was attacked were very close friends. And the results were always the same. In one experiment, the hypnotized subject pulled out a knife and nearly accomplished the task. Subsequent experiments began with searching the subject to make sure that there were no more weapons. Watkins concluded that people could be induced to commit acts contrary to their morality if their reality was distorted by the hypnotism. Similar experiments were conducted by Watkins using WACs, or members of the Women's Army Corps, exploring the possibility of making military personnel divulge military secrets. I wonder what that experiment consisted of. Or I should say, you wonder, because I'm not going to tell you. A related experiment had to be discontinued because a researcher who had been one of the subjects was exposing numerous top-secret projects to his hypnotist, who did not have the proper security clearance for such information. The information was divulged before an audience of 200 military personnel. And one of the people propagating the extraterrestrial invasion myth, a Mr. Robert Lazar, was the partner in the ownership of a brothel, a house of prostitution, where license plates of the customers' cars were videotaped and the customers were videotaped. Could he have been participating in one of these mind control experiments, or maybe conducting it, and then later, part of another vast mind control experiment on the American people to create the illusion of extraterrestrial abductions and the imminent threat of invasion of an extraterrestrial force? It could be, ladies and gentlemen, because when I was in the Office of Naval Intelligence, certain information was given to me that made me believe that that was what was happening until I stopped being stupid and began to do my own research.
Go on into other fields of possible suggestion. And remembering always that the only way that the person can receive this suggestion or visualize it is by a kind of personal acceptance of it. We also begin to ask questions that probably will become more important 20 years from now. And that is, where does this process of self-suggestion begin and end? How much of what we believe to be here now exists only because of our own believing? What part of the universe is the projection of our own general acceptances? To what degree are all these acceptances merely dramatized by our own intensity? Is this not merely the extension of the fact that man creates his own psychic life and therefore can project his psychic light upon the things that are occurring around him. Is this one of the basic causes of prejudice? Is prejudice an hypnotic power by which we literally blind ourselves to facts? Is prejudice a self-deceit so real that it can make us see water on the living room rug, shake hands with people who do not exist, or try to sit down in what appears to be an empty chair in which someone else is already sitting? Where can we say that the power to suggest to ourselves begins and leaves off? Our hope in this, of not being too greatly deceived, is that we associate this suggestion with another person. That we will not respond unless another person whose authority we accept makes the suggestion. Yet we know that the same suggestion can be made with a phonograph record. That it is perfectly possible for an hypnotist on a television program to put part of the visual audience to sleep. You can be 500 miles away watching your own set, and you may succumb to his suggestion. What other suggestions do we knowingly or unknowingly accept? What is the phenomenon of the dictator, of the political policy? What is advertising? These things may all be suggestion pressure, causing us to lose a large part of our own orientation.
Why does the government hide this? Well, so we all believe, most people believe in extraterrestrials.
Right.
Most people. So what are they afraid of?
We're living in a different world now. Since December of 2017 with Commander David Fravor, the Tic Tac UFO case, which I broke before the New York Times. I reported on that twice. That case opened the door, so we now know the government did not stop studying UFOs in 1969. There's a program called ATIP. That program is now acknowledged. So what are they afraid of? I think they're afraid of weaponization. I think that's the issue here. And also, you're right, we're not alone in the universe, but are they visiting here? And that's the question that they've been unwilling.
Well, I always said it's why don't they just release information that these events occurred and they can keep the technology secret? That I've never understood, so I'm with you on that.
Why are they afraid of you? What are you going to tell us?
Just what I did, the existence of the project.
All right. Why are they so afraid of that?
I don't. You'd have to ask them that.
Why do you think, John? What are they afraid of?
You know, I don't really know. I think that it's a big concept, Larry. It's a big concept that we're not alone and that we're being visited. And in 1989, that's explosive. To this day, we're in a different world. I do believe that. What has come out by the Pentagon, the videos by Commander Fravor, that they admitted there are unknown aerial objects of advanced technology that are fly with impunity in our airspace. It is now admitted by our government. If people don't know that, they now need to know that. We're in a different world. I'm very optimistic.